So I'd like to thank everyone for joining here live and sticking with us. Subscribe if you aren't already. We do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We have some fun. We give out some facts. And you get to hang out with Josh, which is, of course, the greatest pleasure of my life. So I first would like to start up top. As Josh said, the St. Michael Novena, but we also have a matching grant for the ad that we are running right now. So I'm going to show what that looks like. It's in our description. So for people that really want to make an impact this election cycle, we created this ad we showed last episode. It's about the real harsh realities of policies from the Biden administration and what could be coming for America if we get this coming in the next cycle. So if you'd like to, a generous donor has agreed to match donations up to $250,000. As you can see, we're about halfway there right now, which is awesome. I think we're actually past halfway there. So if you want to take part in this and you have the means, we're extremely grateful here at Catholic Vote if you want to get this message out to as many people as possible. So thank you in advance. Josh, did you have something you wanted to add on that before you get going?
Well, again, using your taxpayer dollars to fund sex changes, not on minors, on children under age 18. So this one, it's already been viewed like 120,000 times. The video's gone viral. We're going to go with it on the air in states like my state of Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada. So it's I think it really can make a big difference. It's already, like I said, gone kind of viral on the internet. So it's got a lot of traction. People understand the message. It's pretty intense, and it cuts right to the truth. So like I said, you want your dollars to really stretch. Here's an opportunity to have your dollars matched dollar for dollar. And we'll put the link there in the show notes or in the chat if we can. But I also want to thank our producers for putting the link in the chat for the St. Michael Novena so that you can sign up for that. So
shout out Rosie.
You can sign up for that novena by going to CatholicVote.org/novena.
Sweet. So awesome. I did something yesterday. We took a little trip to the theater and we saw Am I Racist by...
I've been waiting for this for 3 days. I'm so excited.
Daily Wire,
How was
Matt
it?
Walsh. I have my thoughts, and I'm curious anyone else in the chat if they've seen it. I'm not going to provide spoilers per se. I mean, there's some clips that are just kind of out of the bag at this point. But general thoughts. I'm going to start with the good. I'm going to add some critiques because I'm fair, and I'm not going to treat the Daily Wire with kid gloves because I want excellence from them. First off, I mean, I'm just impressed at first with the ambition of the project. It was very clear to me that they involved very talented Hollywood level producers. Visually, it looked great. It did feel like a movie, which I appreciated. Sometimes when things get to the big screen like this and they're made by smaller outfits, it doesn't feel that way. This one definitely felt like that. And I think the subject matter was super ambitious as well. I mean, the thing with people are calling this kind of right-wing Borat, right? And which I think is an apt comparison. However, what I observed with Borat was it's punching down, basically. It's making kind of middle America, average type people the butt of the joke and making them look stupid and entrapping them a little bit. Matt Walsh instead chooses, in the Daily Wire, chooses to punch up, right? We're punching at the quote unquote DEI experts here, the people that have received the most grant money, the most prestigious jobs, money in general, positions of power within society, moral authority. And he's literally just handing them rope to hang themselves. I actually felt that he didn't really do a ton of entrapment, which was kind of the crazy thing. He just they said when they were doing this, they cast a wide net and they sent stuff to everyone, to all of the big names within the DEI space. And the amount of sourcing that was lacked from the people that agreed to this, it was egregious. And I think just points to the fact that they are in this kind of academic or media bubble that they would never think. All he would email would, I'm Matt, DEI expert. And they did no research beyond that. And they had great clips of him on local news stations that took him on and did no research. And he rightfully made them look ridiculous. So I also think it's been amusing for me personally to watch people online realize how funny Matt Walsh is. I think, and Erika, I know you know Alyssa. Matt he's actually, from what I heard, pretty awkward in person and not super social, which is of course a foil to his wife, who's like the most social, and she's awesome.
She's
we kind of
awesome,
both know her. But I think that's the only way he was able to keep a straight face through a lot of these interactions, because he's talking to. I was uncomfortable watching some of the interactions where he would basically go and talk to a quote unquote expert and DEI, whatever, all the time, almost always white women. And they would just pontificate and use all the buzzwords. And the way he was able to ask questions in a deadpan way without really working too hard or like going too far, but just letting them kind of make themselves look ridiculous was super impressive. I mean, I could have watched that for hours. I thought the best part was when he was in the interview with these experts and just subtly asking questions that kind of led them to the conclusion that this is all kind of a scam. And I think it was smart how they went about it. They started, so the whole bit is that he wanted to get rid of his old identity. He took on a new identity as Matt Walsh, DEI expert. He got certified online, kind of how people become pastors online. And he started at the bottom of the DEI pyramid of just a local bookstore in Boulder, Colorado, which I don't know if you guys have been to Boulder. Whoa. Boulder is liberal, crazy. I don't know how to say it. Boulder's insane. If anyone's ever been to Boulder, you know what I'm talking about. And he goes to this bookstore and he's kind of talking to the clerk about the DEI literature and whatever. And he gets all the way up to the top to the queen, Robin DiAngelo, author of White Fragility. And worth the price of admission alone, watching him talk to Robin DiAngelo was unbelievable. And I think that one of the smartest things they did too was they brought up the money tallies. So every person he spoke to, he put an email out to, they agreed to speak for a fee. Now, the most outrageous of all of them, he talked to this woman who was suing, I think it was Disney, because a person in costume snubbed their daughters, supposedly because they were black. And this went viral a while back. I've seen the video. And he asked her, like, do you even know who was in the costume? She said, no. Do you know that they were white? No. But they made it a huge news cycle.
Oh my gosh.
She requested $50,000 to talk.
Just to talk to
Just
them?
to talk, $50,000. I could not believe some of the money tally. So I think in terms of just proving a point, to me, I walked away and this movie did a great job of revealing how empty and predatory a lot of this is. It's really just capitalizing on people's racial guilt. A lot of times it was middle-aged white women kept coming up as a factor. And it almost felt kind of like abuse in a way. And the people at the top, I think, were so shameless that, you know, he threw Robin DiAngelo $15,000. She was more than happy to meet and do no vetting and spout whatever she spouted. But what she was saying was no different than what's being said at the base level. And of course, her paying reparations to his black producer was I know that's a little bit of a spoil, but it's everywhere at this point. I've seen it already, and I watched it in the theater, and my jaw was on the floor. I've never been so uncomfortable, shocked in my life. I cannot believe he got her to do it. Give this man all the money in the world. I will watch anything Matt Walsh does for moments like that. Like, only Matt Walsh can do that, and I think they really put that in display. My critiques, okay? Now I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna bring up my critiques. I'm curious if people share this in the chat, if they've seen it. It, of course, is being put up next to What is a Woman? And What is a Woman was this, I mean, culturally groundbreaking is almost an understatement. I mean, it reached every corner of the internet. Even I remember when he was on Joe Rogan, he was talking about people that maybe aren't even in Matt Walsh's political camp were watching it and thinking about it. And that was a documentary style. They set out with this one to make a comedy. And so the feel was different in that regard. And I see how they kind of use that of him, the journey of him being an anti-racist, whatever. And I see how they use that mechanically. And I think it worked, although because all of the best moments, the funniest moments were interviews with people, it was funnier than anything you could have made up. Like the Moana problem he talks about, basically he said his 4-year-old daughter, the anti-racist expert was like, well, you know, I was mad because my daughter's gravitating towards all the white princesses and I want her to be diverse. And then Matt's like, well, my daughter really likes Moana and I'm concerned because if she wears the getup, that's cultural appropriation. And it feels like no matter what I do, we're back to racism. And the lady's like, yes, exactly. That's exactly like offering no solutions. Just, oh my gosh.
He's such a troll.
That was the best part. I think almost and even when he was talking to the normal Americans, that was awesome too, because he just went into a biker bar and was using the buzzwords, and they all looked at him like he was insane. That was just as satisfying. I think the skits that they did and a lot of that almost felt like it made it drag and a little out of place. And it's not that they weren't funny. I think if they were put out on YouTube, it would have been funny. But in the context of the larger film, I think it just could have been tighter, and it didn't fit perfectly to me. I almost, an armchair QB, I was trying to think about, okay, if I would set about and do this, I almost would have liked him to like lay out the plan and get us all on board earlier of, hey, we all kind of know this DEI thing is kind of a scam. I'm going to expose it, and you will be shocked at how easy it is to expose it. Almost like bringing us in of like, now we're rooting for him to kind of like expose the thing. So there could have been more interviews in there, or could have been more targets in there. I think I could have done without the skits. So that would make it more of a documentary, I think, rather than a comedy, which I know it wasn't what they were going for. But
Whatever.
Josh, did you see it?
Not yet.
So I appreciate it.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. Like, granted, I think part of again, I haven't seen it. I've watched a bunch of the clips and stuff. As far as like laying out in the beginning what the project is, I think he also like probably was looking to troll people who just walk in not knowing what this movie is. Am I racist? Because there's people who still just like go to Cinemark or whatever on Saturday and they're like, what's playing? And they walk in. And so in a way, like, I think he might be trolling them as well. But that would just be, I'm speculating. I haven't seen it, but I definitely want to see it now, Pogo. You've sold me. I'm gonna buy the ticket. I'm
gonna highly doubt that. Well, part of what made it so big was that people went and saw movie posters and they're like, why is this racist in the movie? Like, it's not going to make those people watch the movie. It's going to make more people who maybe don't go to the movies come to the movies. It's kind of like the what was the big movie Sound of Freedom that I went to go see? I saw Sound of Freedom because I read the Rolling Stone say it's for brain dead, right wing, whatever.
Yeah, the brain worms.
I think they're kind of going to get more of that effect. And even if just at minimum, it brings back low budget comedies, I consider it a win in total, because those have all but disappeared from theaters. And it feels like and they're saying this too, and I believe it, there's an untapped part of audiences in the country who would go watch low budget comedies that are actually funny. And so do we pull it off? I'm not sure. I would say I highly recommend go to see it. It just felt like kind of similar to What Is a Woman, how it ended, maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity to like land the punch at the end, but still hilarious. And if you want a few laughs, I mean, you're not going to watch anything else like that out right now. So that's what I have to say. That's my review. Take it or leave it.
Thanks for the review. Thanks for
That's good. I almost never go to the movie theater. I think I've been there 3 times in 20 years.
What's the last movie you've seen, Josh, in theaters?
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh my gosh. What? You're going to critique you're out here watching Thor Ragnarok.
That is an awesome movie.
That was a long time ago.
Bro.
That's
that
when
is
like
not
Kate
what I would have
Blanchett
expected.
was young.
Oh, she's cute too, man.
Erica, what's the last movie you've seen?
Thor Ragnarok's awesome. I mean, look, I'm a Viking.
I was trying to move on from that.
Okay.
And they brought in a little Zepp for the movie, so it was good.
All right, I'll pass on Marvel breakoffs, but Erica, what is the last movie you've seen in theaters?
So the last one I saw, I was still pregnant. I haven't been since the baby was born, and we all know why. Is Dune 2.
Oh,
so we went to see Dune 2. I do enjoy the visuals.
Are you a Dune head? Like, wasn't Dune supposed to be kind of the original Star Wars?
No, I like Dune. I'm more like Dune head adjacent, because I'm married to a guy who loves sci-fi and just loves sci-fi, like loves it. Hey Todd, love you. But I really do enjoy them. It's good visuals. It's good times. Little Zendaya action.
Dune was. I saw Dune 1. I haven't seen Dune 2 yet. I thought Dune was really solid. It was better than I expected, because I'm not really a sci-fi guy. Timothy Chalamet.
It was a little long. Yeah, Timothy Chalamet.
He kind of annoyingly uses too many E's to spell his name, though. It's very French of him.
It's French.
And he was in a trailer.
That's the best critique I've heard. I like that.
He was in a trailer for a Bob Dylan movie, and I don't understand Bob Dylan. I'm going to come out and say that. I don't know if we got Bob Dylan fans around, but
oh man,
he's from Minnesota, and I do not like him either. Bob Dylan.
Okay.
but he was one of the last people to see Buddy Holly live.
And you like Buddy Holly?
Of course. Buddy Holly was freaking awesome.
Okay.
One of the best in music ever. In fact, there's a good argument that was made recently that the death of Buddy Holly pretty much stopped any good music innovation for like good 10, 12 years until the Beatles came around. Buddy Holly was amazing. And that's just what's so tragic about it. But thankfully.
Wait, wasn't he the guy from that Weezer song?
Yeah, to you, I look just like Buddy Holly. I love that song.
I don't. That's all I know about him.
Weezer's back.
I hate to say that's all I know about him.
I mean, it was tragic. You know, the Big Bopper.
Wait, was that what American Pie was about? Buddy Holly died?
He's talking about the day the music died. Yes, Buddy Holly dying. I mean, then there's also the Big Bopper and J.R. Richardson or whatever. And Waylon Jennings was supposed to be on that flight, but the one guy had a cold, and Buddy says, "Can you let him be on the plane, because I don't want to, he's sick. I don't want to put him on the bus." And Waylon Jennings turns to him and goes, "I hope that plane crashes and you die."
I did not know that.
Ruh-roh. That's what happened. And Waylon Jennings felt really bad with survivor's guilt. Didn't play music for a good 10, 15 years until Willie Nelson comes up to him and goes, "I think it's about time you start playing music again."
Oh,
that's why they were big friends.
You can't be saying stuff like that, man.
Everything I said was true. Oh, what he said. Okay,
yeah. Right. That reminds me of
Waylon Jennings, though, my favorite musician. So
it reminds me of, I don't know if you remember when Rudy Gobert. This was like the worst aging thing of all time, but it was during like right when COVID started and they were talking about shutting down the NBA. He's like, "I'm not scared of COVID," and he like coughs on all the microphones and like touches all of them, and then like the next day everything shuts down.
You can't be doing that stuff.
Thanks, bro.
Can't be doing that. Okay, that was a fun little segue into entertainment. But Erika, we get some more entertainment from you. Yeah. So let me pull up the picture here. This one
just worth noting that the chat backed me up on Thor Ragnarok.
Look, I know you always galvanize the chat to back all of your desires, and it kind of makes me mad sometimes. Like then the email often backs me, but then by that time it's too late. It's almost like an ABC fact check. It's like the fact check's in real time, and then email 3 days later, like, "Oh, Tom, you're actually right." I was like, "I know I was right, but ABC
but
fact checking
doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter anymore." All right, Erika. So this piece made some waves. This is not your piece, to be clear. This is from Michelle Goldberg in the New York Times.
Correct. Yeah. So this is making massive waves all over the interwebs and on the Twitters and all that. But I really, and I know that's not real life, but I think this is really important for everyone to understand where we are right now in the pro-life movement. And this is a New York Times opinion piece that appeared on Monday this week. And you can see the title, "It Was Only a Matter of Time Before Abortion Bans Killed Someone," from Michelle Goldberg. This story details the account of a Georgia resident. Her name's Amber Nicole Thurman. She was pregnant with twins, and she and the twins died August 19th of 2022. So this is just after Dobbs. After she attempted illegal chemical abortion. So she's in Georgia. The story goes, she's in Georgia. The twins have a heartbeat. And after Dobbs, the heartbeat bill, which is the Living Infant Fairness Equity Act, went into effect automatically and said that no abortion can be performed if the unborn child has a detectable human heartbeat. The twins have a heartbeat. She is denied an abortion in the state of Georgia. She drove over to North Carolina, went to a clinic, which didn't do the surgical abortion procedure on her. They handed her the pills, the chemical abortion pills. She takes mifepristone, which strangles, it basically cuts off nutrients to the babies. The babies die. And then she's sent on her way to take the misoprostol, which will induce labor and expel the dead bodies a few days later. She has complications. These are expected complications when you do this procedure on your own. She's hemorrhaging. She goes to a Georgia hospital. The doctors decline to do the DNC on her, and it is unclear. There's no evidence that they declined to do the DNC because of the abortion bans, quote unquote. They were afraid or something. We don't know why they did yet. However, the way Michelle Goldberg presents this is, it is entirely the fault of pro-life laws that this woman died. And she mentions another case. She's saying this is happening all over the place. Abortion bans kill women. And this is her. I'm going to quote straight from her. The complications, the doctors ruled this death was entirely preventable. The complications Thurman faced did not have to be deadly. A timely medical intervention could have saved her life. As long as abortion bans persist, more women are likely to die in the same way. So I wanted to respond to this, and the Washington Examiner is going to run my response this afternoon. Make sure you go check that out. It'll be in the Loop. It'll be linked in the Loop one of these days. I wanted to respond to this because the demonization of pro-life laws is not only placing blame in the wrong place for Thurman's death, it's actually one of the causes of Thurman's death. The real villains in this story aren't pro-life legislation. And again, all of you in the chat, you're probably on board with this. This is not like news to you, but it's important that you be able to respond to these stories. I have family members telling me that I want to deny care to women who have miscarriages, that I want to deny DNCs for life-saving situations like this. That absolutely, that misconception, that misinformation, that lie has to be confronted articulately. So the real villains here, this is what I argue, are, of course, the FDA for illegally removing safeguards for mifepristone and misoprostol in 2016, for approving these drugs in a rushed way by reclassifying pregnancy as a life-threatening illness in 2000. FDA first. Second, a clinic where, knowing the effects that these drugs have, they would hand these drugs to a woman and send her back home over 4 hours away. Third, the doctors in that hospital who, if they were unaware of the law in Georgia and they were getting their information from places like, the New York Times on what they were legally allowed to do to treat this woman, that was, at least at the best, that was negligence toward their patients, to understand that they had every legal right and obligation to save her life when she approached them as a result of this hemorrhage. And then finally, of course, the New York Times and the mainstream media itself, which continues to falsely characterize these pro-life laws as abortion bans. Every single law, and this is your talking point, guys, every single pro-life law in the United States is an abortion restriction. We have no state in the United States where there is not some form of exception to the rule. There's not some form of, in case of a medical emergency, doctors must act to save the life of the mother. It is simply a lie to call these abortion bans, and it's killing women. By their own admission, by Michelle Goldberg's own admission. Yeah. This is...
No irony in this title.
Of this law.
No irony in it. It was only a matter of time. Come on, guys. Really?
Yeah, I mean, these pro-life laws, they're saying it was only a matter of time before these pro-life laws killed someone. Like,
the irony of the title itself, right?
Like, I didn't even know we're trying to stop people from being killed. That's the point of the law.
Right.
But it's interesting, though, that, okay, so let me, in a way, kind of tie together two things here. There are some people who actually critiqued Matt Walsh because they claim he was, being deceptive, and he was using lies basically to advance an agenda on his new movie, Am I Racist? And I think that's, of course, absurd. It's the same kind of arguments we heard against David Daleiden. It's undercover, where you're not going out of your way to intentionally lie. You're just, being a little cagey, undercover. You're not letting them know the full truth because you want to hopefully understand what they truly believe, right?
Right.
Well, in the case of the pro-life arguments, what's really going on here in the public debate on abortion is one side, the pro-abortion side, routinely lies 100% of the time. They know it's a lie. It's not even like they're being a little cagey. They're like, they just outright will say things. They're like, this is a lie. We know it's a lie, but it will be very helpful for our cause if we push it. And we'll have the media support it. And that's what's that's why we wonder why I get so angry about the media all the time. It's the corruption, the corruption of the media to promulgate every Democratic talking point and promote every time they lie on abortion. That is just so damaging. It's so difficult to try to argue and articulate why we should have a change in our policy on abortion, We're like, okay, now it's no longer mandated by the Supreme Court that every state has to be pro-abortion from beginning to end. Now the Supreme Court, because of Trump's pro-life appointments, Now they're allowing states to have a little bit more freedom on this to pass laws to protect unborn children. And then you get these things where, oh, this pro-life law caused a woman to die because she couldn't get the procedure for the, in the case of the life of the mother. No. This drives me crazy. There's a lot of these pro-life Christians or so-called pro-life Christians who are throwing like pebbles at David DeLay and Matt Walsh saying, oh, you're lying. No, they're not. They're basically being undercover. And they're trying to uncover the truth. That is the whole point of what they're trying to get at. What is the true nature of the DEI? What is the true nature of what Planned Parenthood does? Do they sell body parts of unborn children or not? It's trying to uncover the truth that they do this kind of cloak and dagger thing.
Yeah.
But the left doesn't do that. The left makes outright lies. They're saying, oh, you passed this pro-life law, so this woman couldn't get, the procedure she needed to in the case of the life of the mother. And then we say, wait a minute, no, that's not true. Every single state in this union, all 50 states, allow for this in the case of the life of the mother. And the left doesn't care and the media doesn't care because they realize promoting that lie helps them promote abortion and helps them to promote pro-abortion Democrats. They lie and they don't care.
Yeah.
And I think, can I just highlight one more thing?
Go for it.
Yeah. So in digging into the story again, I had to go back and look at the case against the FDA and its initial approval. And it just underscored for me that the media is complicit, and actually not even complicit in a lie. The media is driving the lie about these laws, but the approval of this drug, our federal government, our federal agencies, FDA first and foremost among them, NIH as well, they were absolutely at the forefront of covering up what this drug does. Obviously, it is lethal for the children, right? We got that just baseline. But they have also been absolutely since before 2000, they have been covering up what this drug does to the women who ingest it. And not only covering it up, but erasing files. This was something I found yesterday when I was doing this research. So obviously, like by classifying pregnancy as a life-threatening illness, the FDA was able to push through the abortion cocktail as safe. They're promising it's safe and promising to monitor it carefully because of the way it was pushed through and the reclassification of pregnancy here. The data was not good. For 15 years, we were getting studies that were indicating, and here we go, as many as 1 in 5 women required follow-up medical help after taking the cocktail. Another study, and this was of Medicaid records, so this is all public, it showed that in states that funded abortion for low-income women, the rate of emergency room visits after taking these drugs went up over 500% by 2015. That's insane. Like 500%. The data wasn't good. Then in 2016, the FDA comes along and says, you know what? And this is under the actual manufacturer, Danco Labs, of mifepristone, misoprostol. They pressure the FDA to remove the safeguards, to remove the restrictions, and to stop requiring that physicians report adverse effects, because the adverse effects were so damning. Not only that, but that second study I just mentioned about the 500% increase, it's been scrubbed. It was there last spring when I wrote about this case. Now the NIH just has a sign up that says, when you go to the website, it's like, this study has been redacted. And I saw that yesterday and thought, well, isn't that just more of the same?
It's really hard for me to express how much I think both the media and the FDA and CDC are the enemy of the people. No question. All this. So the whole story of how RU 486 even came to America is pretty insane. Like, it was in France, and then the Clintons were big in getting it here. And it was pretty explicitly for population control reasons was the reason that it was created. It gets reclassified. Liberal feminists in the 60s were mad because people were getting blood clots and dying. So they go to Congress and they protest the fact that this is even available to women, because it shouldn't be, because it's dangerous, regardless of what you think. But again, it goes back to abortion, and this is a spiritual show. Abortion is the sacrament of the left. There's no question. They're willing to overlook physical, immediate harm to women to ensure that they can keep their ideological purity of, well, a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy if they want to. That's not even even that's a euphemism. To end the life of their child, to kill their child, should be a right of every woman in America. They're obsessed with that to the point that they'd even let people die using means that were never created for the original purpose, but we're going to move things around, we're going to shift things around so it can happen. And you're so right about highlighting this story. If we had a serious media apparatus, you know how much bigger the David Daleiden story would have been, of the fact that he could go into Planned Parenthood and get body parts, that they were happy to sell body parts, that all of the horrible, that would be the biggest news story of all time. But instead we're getting cherry picked snipes of this one small example that was pretty easily debunked by you, Erika, that you're going to get the full piece on. That's what the focus is. And sorry, Josh, if I could finish, this all wraps in a nice bow, because right now we're kind of seeing this play out with the J.D. Vance and Springfield stuff. And J.D. Vance continues to appreciate as a pick for vice president because he does not back down on this, and he's willing to fight people, and he's willing to not accept the premises because the media is dishonest. But for example, we just got a lecture the last couple of days. I'm not going to beleaguer this because we talked about it a lot, about how simultaneously Donald Trump is responsible for his own assassination attempts, now up to 3. And J.D. Vance is personally responsible for the quote unquote bomb threats that were called into Springfield. Now, we just get an answer yesterday from Mike DeWine that the bomb threats, in which were brought up on many mainstream news programs, Dana Bash, MSNBC, directly to J.D. Vance saying, do you feel responsible for this? Turns out they're from a foreign government. They're not even legitimate calls, not only from a former government, from one foreign government, and they won't name what country that it's coming from. So the whole premise of the attack was a lie.
Right.
And there's not going to be an apology. They're not going to retract this. They've already made their point.
If liberals are treated with violence, if someone attacks a liberal, they blame the conservatives, right?
Right.
But if a conservative gets attacked, they also blame the conservatives.
Right.
Yeah. So you're saying it's always our fault. That's nice.
Well,
that's classy.
It makes sense if you understand the subtext of media is an arm of the machine. I mean, they're quite literally propaganda level narrative pushing, and this is all coming out because we have free speech platforms now. But they are working on behalf of the White House and Democrats in a lot of cases. This is not. If you understand that, it all makes sense. What is Josh? Is your other little quote that you like to say? It's a system. The purpose of a system is what it accomplishes.
What it does.
The purpose of a system is what it does, and the purpose of the media system is not to objectively portray what the truth or what the different sides are saying or to represent them accurately. It is to promote the Democratic Party's agenda.
Right. Bingo. Okay, so I want to get into a little bit lighter topic here. So something I want to start doing more of. So we have this newsletter. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, called The Loop. How many Catholics are we reaching now every morning?
Yeah, it's like just about 600,000 every day.
Crazy. 600,000. I thought we were higher than that, but 600,000 Catholics every day, every morning. And so we get some emails, and we're calling it letters from a looper. And I was talking with the team that puts together the Loop every day, and they wanted me to highlight some of these. I found a story that I thought was great for the first edition. So this is a priest correcting the record on priesthood being lonely. Mm-hmm. So dear Loop editor, in a recent Loop edition dated Friday, August 30th, one of the headlines stated 2 ways to support priests. The headline was linked to a fine article originally published by Father David Michael. However, the message inviting one to click in the article missed the mark. It read, if you're not a priest, imagine the burden and loneliness of such a vocation and the constant criticism. I understand that the perception among the faithful in regards to the loneliness of the priesthood. I have been a Catholic my whole life and Sunday churchgoer and at times I myself have thought Father looks tired. However, as an ordained priest of just over 1 year, it is far from the truth that being a priest makes one lonely or burdened or even overly criticized. At the heart of the gospel is a love between the Father and the Son. At the heart of this love is joy, as Jesus said, these things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full. John 15:11. A vocation, whether it be in marriage, as consecrated religious, a diocesan priest, etc., takes consistency, commitment, and a constant yes. This yes takes everything and relies on much grace. It is a sacrifice acceptable to the Father. Yet, it is in this sacrificial character that the secret and heart of the gospel is unlocked, the joy of being in union with Jesus Christ. Jesus says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Matthew 11:28-29. In our vocational yes, our union with Jesus is the answer to the demands of our work. Any vocation can indeed be a burden or one of loneliness. This is the weight of the cross. When we enter into the mystery of love between the Father and the Son, then everything can become sweet. We can say with Christ, just as the priest does when he puts on the chasuble, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Participation in the priesthood of Jesus Christ has been a tremendous gift. The young altar server in me may even say a dream come true. Many faithful, specifically many parishioners, have been supportive and encouraging. The priesthood takes a lot of work, and so does every vocation, oftentimes silent, contemplative work. May we be supportive of all holy vocations and remember that in Christ Jesus, especially in the Eucharist, is a found yoke that is easy, a burden made light. Blessings on your ministry, Father Timothy.
All right, let me jump onto this one because there was a thread on Twitter recently I thought was really good and it'll be illuminating for our audience as well. Father Patrick Hyde is a Dominican priest, and he said, I've been asked to give a talk to brother priests about administration and leadership, and it got me thinking about the expectations that are placed on priests by others and themselves. What follow is a deliberately hyperbolic thread to help prove how unreasonable these expectations can be. As a pastoral minister, the parish priest is expected to go to the margins and unwanted, like St. Damien of Malachi, and hear confessions at the rate of St. John Vianney, and have the compassion of St. Teresa of Calcutta. As a preacher, the priest is expected to have the poetic eloquence of Gerard Manley Hopkins, the style and power of St. Anthony of Padua, the affability of a favorite uncle, and the impact of St. Vincent Ferrer. As an administrator, the priest is expected to understand and manage the finances better than a CPA, to be a creative leader like Steve Jobs, and if he had a school, to run it like St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. These examples affect the unreasonable pressure that many priests face to be all things for all people in the information age. Because we can see the successes of others so easily, it heightens our awareness of shortcomings and increases the pressure to perform. On top of this, many parishes are oversaturated with ministries. So the priest feels the burden of a ridiculous expectations compounded by a feeling of helplessness at being able to make an impact because, well, we already did that, or it was just another project. As I mentioned, I'm being deliberately hyperbolic. This is Father Patrick Hyde, to help prove a point to priests. First, it's okay to feel a little overwhelmed and confused. Secondly, you can do something to make an impact. And third, the impact is to put Jesus first and to zealously strive after holiness. So Father Joe Krupp, who is one of my favorite priests, he's done many Edify videos for him. He echoed this thread and added on, brother, I'm literally walking out of a session with a priest where I just broke down. The pressure is so intense and so relentless. I do not lack encouragement or love. I want to be clear about that. I am a blessed and happy man, but the constant crushing weight of expectations and demands is overwhelming that I sometimes get frozen. For that reason, some reason, reading this helped. I'm not alone. We suffer together. And so the comments were great. People were like, hey, just remember, a yoke is built for two. It's like the idea is, you're there with Christ. And he's like, brother, I needed that. And I just wanted to add my comment that I sent to him, to Father Krupp. I said, you've been humble enough to apologize for your personal shortcomings, as well as failings done by other clergy. So on behalf of other laity, let me just say sorry for all the times that we make suggestions from the sidelines instead of rolling up our sleeves and offering to help.
Man in the arena, baby.
Yeah, I think it's easy to quarterback other people, right?
I just did.
Like to be armchair. Yeah,
I just did.
It's kind
First
of what we do on the
show.
podcast.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think I loved Father Timothy's response there. I mean, it almost moved me to tears, and I really appreciate. I think for two things. One, his reference back to Scripture and that verse, "My yoke is easy, my burden is light." Secondly, it's really moving to me that he recognizes that those stereotypes of like, this is a lonely vocation, this is hard, like they're so overwhelmed, that those are they're in all vocations and all walks of life. Like, this is the cross of Christ, and that it's easy. I see this with women all the time too, like with motherhood, and like, okay, we're expected to be the the manager of the home. We work, we school the kids, we, have to look pretty. All these things like these, we can sit and have this litany of all these burdens that we feel in whatever vocation we're in, whatever our work is. But that remembering, one, we're not alone, and two, we're not crushed by those expectations. I think the point that Father Hyde makes about in our culture today, it is so easy to see how other people are presenting themselves as successful, especially on social media, right?
No
like
doubt,
I always
no
tell
doubt.
people, social media is life curated. It is not real life. Like I get 2 pictures from this friend a day and they both look like her kitchen was clean. And then I have 2 pictures I see from this friend a day and it looks like her children are groomed. And then this friend always posts pictures of like her beautiful mantillas that she wears reverently to church. And you're like, but that's like 0.001% of life for her. And it's not, we should not be comparing ourselves, our crosses to each other like that, no matter our vocation. That's
true, because, a husband would say to a wife that's pointing all that stuff out, like, honey, that's not real. This is her job. She makes $300,000 a year and she has, helpers that make it all possible. That curated experience is not reality. Don't feel inferior to that. Just get over it. And then, but again, there's the natural, the feminine thing of wanting to be pleasing, to want to be, encouraging and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. Like social media, just like social media distorts men. Like, the average woman does not actually look like that. Snap out of it.
Whoa! Look at the lasers.
That's going to be my new way to get attention. I think to bring it back to this, everything that's said is relevant. I like seeing pushback on the narrative of kind of looking at Father with sympathy. What I saw a lot in the comments too is people come up like, oh, they can't get married. Like they can't have a wife. And so we should look upon them with pity and they're probably miserable and whatever. And there's even a priest top comment in there. Like, I've been a priest for 43 years, never regretted a day in my life. We all get tired. By the Blessed Mother always revives her sons. And I think there's some people that get beaten down in all areas of life. And I don't think priests are different, but if you're doing it right, to be that close to Jesus Christ himself, the power that comes with that. And especially as a man, like being excited about taking on that challenge and leading a flock. Like I'm just grateful that I've had great priest influences on my life, true leaders of men, builders of community, completely changed people's lives. Changed my life wherever I was going in different situations with different priests. And it's something to get excited about. It kind of reminds me of that piece on the Milwaukee seminary, if you guys remember that one, about these are young, testosterone filled, like guys getting after it. And I was like, I kind of like hearing that more. Like it gets away from the pink palaces. It gets away from the problems of the past and it gets at the solution. The solution is true masculinity, leadership, virtue, courage, excitement, like having some gusto with what you do. And I just like the reminder from priests, like, and of course, quoting the Bible as all should. Look, we're all going to have our yoke, no question, but the burden's made easy with Christ. So I was pumped.
And I guess my point that I really liked in highlighting is that I hate the committees, like the people come by and nitpick and they say, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing this? And then if there's a rational explanation for why not, and they go, never mind, and they walk away. And I know about this because of my work here at CatholicVote, but then also my wife's ministry with the Marian Center. They go, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And you'd say, oh, that's a great idea. Would you like to help? No.
Yeah.
And it's
Would you like to lead that committee?
It's the same thing at our local Catholic Chesterton Academy, where it's like everyone looks at it like they're a customer, and it's like, listen, we're a ministry here. We're building something together, and I love it when someone said, well, you don't have a ski team. So she started a ski team. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. Like, be the man in the arena or the woman in the arena, get involved, roll up your sleeves and do something, make a difference. Instead of just nitpicking from the sidelines. Why isn't this being done? Why isn't that being done? Maybe God's calling you to get involved. You know what I'm saying? Who's the
goat at this? Pizza Tiger, Tom Monahan. Come on, Josh. Both of us connected. The man's like, we need a good Catholic university. I'm going to go build one. And he literally built a Catholic university. shout out Ave Maria. But there's so many initiatives like that. We have a lot of energy and talent, and something as simple as you see a problem, you solve it. I love that. I'm educating the future. I just became a confirmation teacher in my local program.
Hey,
And
that's awesome.
I'm excited, but I wouldn't have passed the entrance exam. So it's a good time for me to brush up on my 12 gifts of the Holy Spirit and Baltimore Catechism, because I was like, geez. And then I'm looking at these 12-year-olds, and they're saying some profound stuff. I'm like, we got a good crop of 12-year-olds they're teaching me. So I'm excited to get a part of that. But yeah,
That's
just like
great.
opportunities like that are gonna be great for us. So I know we're running late. We kind of started a little bit weird. So I found a fun video. This is going to be a good test for Josh. Okay. This is what I'm going to refer to it. I found a fun video, and I'll play it for everyone here, and then we'll do the Twilight Zone. Here we go. This is on Solution to the Country. Oh no, wrong one. This is Mifepristone.
That's Mifepristone.
That's disappointing.
That's bad.
Thanks for Wikipedia.
Yeah, I got you, dude. Where's it? Okay. Dang.
If I had to solve all the problems that face this country, and I could be granted one wish as we started down the trail to rebuild the job base, the schools, and so on and so forth, I would say a strong family unit in every home, where every child is loved, nurtured, and encouraged. A little child before they're 18 months learns to think well of himself or herself or poorly. They develop a positive or negative self-image. At a very early age, they learn how to learn. If we have children who are not surrounded with love and affection, see, I look at my grandchildren and wonder if they'll ever learn to walk, because they're always in someone's arms. And I think, my gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful if every child had that love and support? But they don't. We will not be a great country unless we have a strong family unit in every home. And I think you can use the White House as a bully pulpit to stress the importance of these little children, particularly in their young and formative years, to mold these little precious pieces of clay so that they too can live rich, full lives when they're grown.
Oh man.
Josh.
Okay, so
It's good stuff.
Ross Perot.
let me just tell you something. When I was a kid, my absolute passion was collecting baseball cards, and I loved it. And I did it for about 4 or 5 years. And then by the time I turned 15, I'm like, bored of this. I switched over and began my love of politics. And it was a great year to do it. 1992 was a crazy political year.
And you haven't grown out of it.
I have not grown out of it. And I remember thinking, I'm loving everything that this guy's throwing down. And that little thing there, I mean, of course, the only thing I think of when he says this, I agree with everything that he's saying in that, except for the fact that he's pro-abortion. And he cost us the White House.
And
So
he
that
cost us
frustrates
the
me.
White House. Yeah.
But for that little soundbite right there, he was not only correct, he was like trying to say, we need a bigger emphasis on this, on the family unit, and stressing that. And I agree with that 100%. And he was talking about other things like manufacturing and good jobs. And that's, if you want to have, this is the thing. Mitt Romney and John McCain would talk about like, oh yeah, I'm pro-family, blah, blah, blah. And then they didn't do anything with regards to trying to, make sure that there's families that had strong incomes. It just frustrates me. So the Republican Party bought into this whole, let's import cheap stuff from China and let's import a bunch of migrants or whatever that decimates the working poor or the working class. It was just terrible. So that was awesome. I loved everything that Ross Perot said there. But
fun fact, that was the first presidential debate I ever watched. Pretty cool, huh? Yep. Clinton, George Bush, and Ross Perot. And then the night when I woke up the morning that Clinton won the presidency, I was just 11 years old, but I actually wrote in my diary, I still have it. It's like, God save us.
Erika, it's
Ross
great
Perot running for president was all a Democratic plan, because this is a man who made millions of dollars through his software company, printing out checks for Lyndon Johnson's Medicare company, program. So he got his money from the Democrats, and he repaid them in 1992 because they knew Bill Clinton wasn't going to be enough to get it over the hump. So
it's a great
And
thought.
yeah, do I hold grudges? You bet I do. I'm almost wearing the green for Irish just because of it, even though I'm not Irish. I hold grudges though.
And we were thinking that RFK Jr. might pull a Ross Perot at one point, but the Democrats have gotten so bad, he just completely bailed, and now he's endorsing Trump.
So Erika, your
not a Ross Perot.
Your first debate was this. So here's the thought for you. Someone's first debate experience was watching the Republican candidate say they're eating the cats and dogs.
That would be my 16-year-old daughter. That was her first presidential debate.
Actually, and the whole thing about that, like, what did the ABC guy, David Muir, he's like, no, we called the city manager, and the city manager said it didn't happen. And then, whoa, they got the tape from back in March where the Springfield city manager said he did. He said, we've got calls that people from several different people that the cats were being eaten or taken and harvested. It's like,
Josh, you're the David Muir of this program.
It's almost like you were lying. And then now David Muir is what's happening to his ratings.
Yeah, you're the David Muir of this program, though, because you do that to me with the chat, and then I get exonerated afterwards.
Okay, I think we just opened a can of worms.
David Muir has more hair.
All right, we're going to be here till 12:15.
Really?
What's going on? Pogo.
All right, we got to move on. I'm not looking good in this exchange. We have so much more. We'll probably push it to Friday, though. Twilight Zone. We can go a little over because we started funny, unfortunately. Josh, I'll allow you the first Twilight Zone.
Okay. Well, someone decided to go on a little bit of a rant because someone had said, men's mental health matters or whatever. It's one of these tweets where they repeat it like 1,000 times. I hate when they do that or whatever. And then this one woman decides to respond to it. And her solution for this, men's mental health, if it really mattered to men, they'd create safe spaces for themselves and each other, pursuing therapy and creating community. Instead, they perpetuate the very behavior systems that have handicapped them in the first place, refuse to support or create community amongst each other, severely damage the women in their lives who try to care for them, and attack women online for not doing the work for them. Really?
I did say that.
Really, Denisha? Really? What happens when men try to create men-only spaces? You sue the daylights out of us, and you shut us down. Like, what happened? We had the Boy Scouts. You got rid of that. Can't have that.
Nope.
And every other thing, like men's-only clubs. I remember when this all started, this drove me absolutely up the wall. I was a little kid growing up, watching sports, and then the thing came like, women reporters should be allowed to go into men's locker rooms to interview them. They should be we should treat them equally. They should be able to go in and interview them just like anyone else. Why should they get an unfair advantage? Why should male reporters get an advantage over women? It's like, because the players are naked, you idiot. Like, what are you? Do you not understand this? So it's like, it drives me crazy. So it's like the solution wasn't like, let's have a press conference before they go to the locker room and then let them have the locker room with no media in it. It was like, no, you don't have privacy anymore. It's like, what? Hello? Like, so again, you try to create safe spaces and they shut you down.
Can I show the graph?
Sure, whatever.
Go for it.
We have the circle of diversity.
The cycle of diversity.
So it starts with, we demand to be included in your space and to make it more diverse and inclusive. Next stage. We demand you change this space to our liking and ban stuff that offends us. Next stage. We demand you be kicked out of the space we created since you offended us. Next stage. LOL, if you hate us, why not just make your own space? And
there you go.
We're back to
it's
space
the same
one.
thing with the Daily Wire, right? So like a bunch of conservatives complained about how Disney has gone totally gay and woke and crazy and communist. And then they're like, well, we really like Disney the way it was for 90 years. Why did you all suddenly change it and make it so crazy gay and woke?
Yep.
And everyone's like, well, then just make your own Disney.
And then
so
the
Daily Wire does.
Like,
they make their own Disney, and then they're like, what's with this right-wing crazy group making their right-wing crazy Disney? It's like, well, what is it? It's almost like we're damned if we do, damned if you don't. It's almost like they're lying.
He said it.
It's got to be once an episode, but yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I hate about this
Tony, yes, in the chat. They don't want you to agree with them. They want you to hear. They want to hear their words coming out of your mouth.
Exactly.
That's actually like kind of way it is between men and women. Women don't actually. When they ask you for your opinion, they don't actually want your opinion. They want their opinion in a lower voice.
Watch out. We have a biological female on the show. You gotta chill with all that. Erika, thoughts?
No, I totally confirm. And I think that the thing with Denisha, like basically she's saying that if men's mental health mattered to men, they would start acting like women, which is like, what do women do? They go and they make a book club that's all women, and they have like their little women's book club, and they talk about all their problems instead of about actual literature. And like, this is what, and they pursue therapy in the career. Yeah. Like, I think
That's fine.
maybe that's fine. It worked, like, great. But men dealing with mental health, maybe it's going to look a little different. Like, they need to go out in the woods and like get a chainsaw and cut up some logs or something, or like, go fishing or so. I don't know, like do guy stuff.
They grab a beer and they go outside on the driveway and sit down in a chair and they just watch.
Just watch the world go by. Get off the screens, go outside, drink a beer.
You know what's interesting?
So,
I'm actually, this is my contribution to all of this. I think whenever I think of men's spaces, I want all male gyms. Like, I go to a gym and it's co-ed, of course, but I can say for a fact that it doesn't benefit women either, because so what's cool is my wife started going to this class, like this workout class, and it's all women. And that makes her feel much better, because clearly you're going to be in situations that are compromising. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be looking good. And it's actually designed to tailor towards women, and therefore a much better experience. But I feel like if
female bodies are different.
Right. But if you had that experience for men, like when I'm in the gym, I'm trying to get after it. Right. Like, I don't want to, I'm not TikTok recording myself, looking cute in my spandex or whatever. Like, I'm getting after it.
Thank God.
Like, I don't even want to have that near me. Like, that's not the point of going in there. And then if you went in there with all dudes, it's going to be different. But again, like, the vibe's going to be different, but that vibe described by the same Denishas are saying that's toxic masculinity. And you're like, no, that's just masculinity, and it's good. Like,
See, the
I
problem
like
here is that women took every fight in the last 40 years as if it was 1982 and them trying to get into the workforce, which they had legitimate complaints and gripes about. Okay, you got that, and now you're fully integrated in the workforce. There's no jobs that you want that you can't really get. It's not like you're closed off. There's no glass ceiling really anymore. So don't use that same. It's like 9 to 5, Jane Fonda and Dolly Parton. Like, you keep looking at everything in life now like that. And it's like, it's not anymore. You can do it. Just be fine, be normal, and stop squashing anything that's men only.
Josh, don't use that example, because 9 to 5 is kind of a banger, though. Dolly Parton.
Great movie. Great song.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the song. I haven't even seen the movie. 9 to 5 is kind of a banger. I like that. It gets me going.
But I can't watch it because I won't watch anything with Jane Fonda.
That's
there you go.
Fair. And she's actually campaigning for Kamala Harris right now. They just did a big video thing for her. She was in Ann Arbor. Imagine who she was talking to in Ann Arbor, liberal white women, giving them hugs. But yeah, okay, Erika, your Twilight Zone.
All right, mine's pretty fast. I just want to say Christmas came early for Josh, so let's just pull up with the latest here.
Josh.
We have Josh's favorite podcast are his
New
own.
favorite podcast for Josh.
New favorite podcast. Can we get this up on the screen? There it is. The Nikki Haley Show. There she is, Josh. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Did we talk about my blood pressure last time? You're throwing this in on that? I'm
sorry, Josh. I'm just trying to kill you. No, just kidding.
Josh, think about this though. Think about it. This first episode is probably going to be about how to go from being $1 million in debt after leaving the UN to amassing a small fortune of, I don't know, $8 to $10 million using defense contracting and hawking war. Like, that could be valuable to you. You could make some more money.
It's just a reminder that the politics is considered the second oldest profession, and as Reagan said, it bears a lot of resemblance to the first.
Yeah, well, the thing I love about this story too is that Nikki Haley, this is really exposing Nikki Haley and Josh Mercer's where they meet on a lot of things. Because, like, look, this is the description of the show. Each week, Haley will analyze and simplify this week's most significant headlines, including the upcoming election, hot spots around the world, U.S. policy, and even some music and entertainment. Does this not sound a lot like Mercer? I mean, this is what you do, Josh.
Okay, wait. So
you and Nikki.
We're reaching the core, I think. Is he jealous?
I hire you, Erika, and this is what you throw down at me.
Josh, are you jealous of Nikki Haley's podcasting talent? Is that the problem? Like, it's a don't come on my turf type thing?
I don't think Josh feels threatened by Nikki Haley at all.
No, I don't think I feel threatened. If I criticize her too much, she might just bomb me like I'm a foreign country.
She might drone strike you, yeah. So I would be a little nervous, personally.
But I have a couple Fridays coming up where I have family obligations with my kids, and I was just thinking, they need a female sub for me, and Nikki is in the biz now, so.
Oh man, we can help promo our show. A Nikki Haley, Josh Mercer debate show.
She embodies. She's keeping that torch alive of that 2005 GOP. She believes it. George W. Bush, John McCain, Mitt Romney, Nikki Haley. Like, let's keep losing elections and bombing countries. What? I don't get it. All the while, the family is being attacked at every turn, and they're like, we don't care.
So I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a no, unfortunately.
That's going to be a no from me, dog.
We got Jackson on the show here? Okay, so mine, I'm going to try to keep it tight, but I read an unbelievable article that I just had to share. So you get this article from IGN titled Inside Out 2. Oh, yeah. Inside Out 2 was the hit Pixar needed, but the late... I got whacked.
You did.
I'm going to have to... go find it again.
Disney's coming after us.
Disney is not happy. That just died. Inside Out 2 was the hit Pixar needed, but laid off employees who crunched it are still hurting. 10 former Pixar employees talk out about the pains of this year's layoffs, the pressure that surrounded Inside Out 2, and larger cultural concerns at the studio. So, long story short, Inside Out 2 did very well. It made $1.6 billion at the worldwide box office. And essentially, this was a necessary victory for Disney and Pixar, almost to the point where internally they were saying it's make or break. They've had a couple big time flops. As they were saying, they need to make $600 million on a movie in order to consider it successful because of their profit sharing agreement with Disney. So they brought out the big guns. They brought in this guy, Pete Docter, Docter. And he wrote the original Inside Out 2. He's an executive producer, and they brought him in as a more creative producer for Inside Out 2. And Inside Out 2 follows around a young teenage, preteen, 13-year-old girl, and it also shows her emotions on the inside of her head as characters. So there's joy, there's anger, there's anxiety gets introduced. And, kind of adorable. It harkens back to, I personally haven't seen 2. I'm familiar with 1. It harkens back to kind of original Disney Pixar, some of the most beloved ones, Toy Story, WALL-E.
Monsters, Inc.
And Pete Docter was involved with all of these. And so I was reading through, and I could not believe some of the things that were being said in it, okay? So outside of the financial strain of it all, sources also paint a picture of a studio that's terrified to rock the boat, with some internally pushing to avoid LGBTQ themes, requiring edits to Inside Out 2. It's a studio, they say, that's overly reliant on Chief Creative Officer Pete Docter, stubbornly set in his ways, and setting up the remaining team for more crunch in his future films. Now, set in his ways of, creating blockbusters that appeal to most Americans and make a lot of money. So that's frustrating.
And not offending audiences who are going to not tune out of your stuff. I mean, they put out 4 or 5 movies that were total woke bombs.
Big time.
And Disney's and Pixar are like, maybe we need to have a hit again. And so it's like nature is healing, return to tradition, quote unquote.
So the big thing that's being the big criticism against Docter, he largely uses the language of making, quote, universal stories, which to him means something that's very homogeneous that anyone can relate to. Now, what were the internal employees frustrated about? Well, they thought that this 13-year-old character was queer-coded or something like that, and they were frustrated that he wanted to make her friendships as platonic as possible in the movie, and even asked to edit certain lighting situations to not imply romance. Now, people that want to see 13-year-olds in sexual situations are what I would consider perverts, pedophiles. I don't even understand how people are comfortable saying, like, we wanted to make this gayer. It's about a 13-year-old. And they're mad because, well, there was layoffs because there was all these problems before, and they got laid off and the movie was successful. But the one quote, I don't think I'm ever going to see a gay Pixar character in my lifetime, was what they're angry about. On a movie that largely succeeded, $1.6 billion, and was universally liked. And so I go into the comments, I'm like, how are people missing? I don't understand what people are missing here. And sure enough, top comment, a surefire way to reduce the audience by 50% is to put something political, controversial, that half the country doesn't necessarily agree with. How is that not obvious unless you're stuck in an echo chamber? I was like, oh, that's a good point. And then the top comment under that, it wouldn't be a problem if half the country didn't consider something that should be normal to even be a political controversial thing to begin with. Now I'm like, these people never learn. If you think that sexualizing a 13-year-old is not something that's going to be controversial to people or quote unquote political, you're an idiot and you're destined to fail. And the guy saved it by touching back into what Toy Story and these other movies were to people, and they're still mad at him. And then I'm looking, okay, you think Disney's going to learn a lesson here, right? I mean, I don't think this is involved with Pixar, but, you know, maybe we should make more Universal movies. Maybe we should try to broaden the audience, not get controversial.
Maybe this works, right? Universal appeal.
Here's the Twilight Zone. They don't learn. We got an upcoming TV series, Agatha All Along, about gay witches. Here's a clip.
Okay, so it's Marvel.
The gayest project Marvel has ever done. Agree?
I would agree with that, yeah.
Why is it?
You'll see. You'll see when you watch it. But, you know, I think witches are queer inherently just because we are outcast and, like, set aside for many reasons. And I think this show shows a really good representation of different types of people and that we can all use the power we have within to, like, go forth and be great.
So I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I don't think anyone's going to watch it. I think it's going to be a flop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like the WNBA.
Actually,
other people.
You're kind of wrong on that, Josh. And I've had people push back against your hate against WNBA. Records-wise, is doing pretty well.
Oh, now they got Caitlin Clark. Yes, okay. It's a new ball game.
No, it's going to be just like The Acolyte. That's what it's going to be more like. Right. The Acolyte, the Star Wars spinoff that had nothing to do with Star Wars, but there's like lesbian Jedi or something in it. So it made nothing. It was canceled after the first second season. And this is going to be just another one of those.
I'm not a big witch guy.
Visions, though, you know, the traditional view of Disney was let's try to entertain people with these great universal stories, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess Erika hates Lion King, but it's like, hey, let's have like an animated version of Hamlet, whatever, fine, okay, sure. Universal ideas, concepts that people all can understand. They can, even if they don't relate to it personally, they can see it. It makes sense to them. It's understandable. But then the other vision is what we've had to endure for the last 5 or 7 years through Disney, which is we want to promote the sexual agenda, the sexual revolution to kids as young as 4 years old. And we're not interested in making a profit. We want to use people's dollars that they give us to entertain them and try to indoctrinate their children with crazy sexual kink. And finally, parents are like, this is dumb. I'm not interested in this. So again, it's a conflict of vision. Disney's like, after losing so much money, like, let's bring one of these old school guys that can redo an actual story that's entertaining so we can start making money again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And not only the sexual revolution, can I just point out here with this whole like occult thing, it's also pushing the occult on children. And like this whole like witches, like the gay lesbian witches, that is gross and perverted in itself to push that in a show for kids. But then also to say something like, oh yeah, witches, like we're inherently queer because we are ostracized. Well, you're ostracized for a reason because you cast spells on people and you invite demons into our houses. So yeah, you're not invited into my house.
Yeah, never been a witch guy. But the point that Josh was making of like, okay, we want to entertain people, and then when people are entertained, they're like, you're still the problem because you're not accepting enough. And it's like, oh, when can we get back to like the audience is always right at some point? I don't know when we got away from that, but anyway, we went super long in this one, and people are still hanging out. Thank you guys for joining today. We got a fun show on Friday. I have a few questions I'm excited to ask already, but if you want to add to that, FAQ Friday, loopcast@catholicvote.org is where you can email me. If you want to support the show, become a champion. It's the best way to support what we do. Join the matching ad campaign. We have to get that commercial out if possible. That's going to be both links in our description of the show. Reviews help us out a ton. Subscribe here on YouTube, but pray for us. Best thing you can do always. Sorry, I'm struggling here. St. Thomas More, Our Lady of Guadalupe.